start with the basics. According to recent data released by Square Yards, over 78% of property transactions in Mumbai, in terms of value, are now above 1 crore. This is House of Yards, a show that cuts through the noise and helps make real estate decisions smarter, sharper, and more strategic. My name is Sukhmani, and I am joined by Mr. Anand Moorthy, a real estate veteran with over 23 years of experience. In this episode, we unpack the trends behind headlines and what to watch out for before you make a move. Let's start with the basics. According to recent data released by Square Yards, over 78% of property transactions in Mumbai, in terms of value, are now above 1 crore. And with compact homes and premium flats driving much of action.
So what happens in Bombay is a unique city in India. Everybody knows it's a financial capital, so obviously the traction towards the value will be always more. But what we closely look at on a quarter-on-quarter basis suggests that the overall market, 85% of the number of transactions are happening below 2 crores. While value-wise it could be more, as you rightly said. And on the premium segment, what's happening, you have to also look at some macroeconomics. Obviously, for every market expert, the denominator is COVID. So COVID, after 2020 and 2021, the market actually was not performing that well in the premium segment since 2015. So we believe it's a pent-up demand, which has basically come from 2022 till today. Couple of factors which is very important to look at is the equity market itself, which has grown multifold over the time. There was also less of buying on premium segments. The supply was an issue as far as residential is concerned. And I think it's all came about between 2023 and 25. And you could see magic numbers being achieved by the developers across India, not only Bombay. But Bombay being a financial capital and people wanting to upgrade and look at final homes actually drove those demands. Right. And slowly, steadily, which you're also seeing is that worldwide, wherever the infrastructure is growing at a phenomenal pace, Bombay is no exception. People know that there are a lot of metros, bridges connecting to each other. And once that infrastructure becomes better, people tend to look at where do they work and where do they live and try to actually make a definitive decision of buying a home. And that is how you would see that, there are, as I said, multiple factors adding up to this. COVID, equity markets, more savings in the hands by basically people wanting to upgrade their homes, and finally the infrastructure has actually fueled the growth as far as the premium segments are concerned in Mumbai.
Anand, we have discussed financing, earlier, and I believe it is one of the most crucial decisions when it comes to any sort of investing. How have you seen, financing decisions and financing trends change? Are the buyers, they're stretching, or how are they making decisions?
Right. I think finance becomes a very, very important, crucial aspect of, and I think for the audience, I want to break it down very simply into a couple of categories. So let's look at a first home buyer. I would want to classify into two categories: the first home buyer and the one who already has a home or who's living in his parents' home or something like that, right? So for the first home buyer, it is important to understand that typically we see 90% above first home buyers go for loans because they are working population or they will have small businesses wherein they might not be in a joint family, but it could be a nuclear family more. And the understanding is that, okay, they will start with a 1 BHK or a 2 BHK. And that point in time, one needs to basically see as to what the income is. Because for loans, what is important is that what is your annual income, have you filing taxes for last 3 years, and how much you can typically look at to contribute in EMI. So 10% is what you give, which is about 10 lakhs. The 90 lakhs have to be funded. But since it is under construction, the EMI is not going to hit you on day one.
Right.
It is going to come in, say, 3 to 5 years. So that is the development time. But you might not want to take the whole loan. But 90,000 means today you will pay about 85,000 rupees, 85 to 90,000 rupees based on your CIBIL score is what you pay. and your annual income, you, your wife, or the family put together needs to give in. So initially, people look at say contribution of every developer takes about 30%, which is inclusive of stamp duty, registration, and everything. So what you need to have is 10% of 10 lakhs. I mean 10% of the total value of the house, and you need to have 30 to 40,000. So we in our overall calculation look at 1/3 should be your earning. So you should be earning at least 60 to 70,000 rupees to be comfortably giving that EMI of 20-25,000.
Right.
So that's really the construct of an first home buyer. Now, given that, let's come to the second category of who's upgrading. So we see in premium segment a lot of people upgrading because of a lot of aspects which I earlier said about equity and infrastructure and family needs getting in. Those people basically look at either from 1 to 2 BHK going, or 2 to 3, or 3 to 4. And I think for them the finances looks pretty simple, that they look at selling that house first. Or they typically, I will recommend everybody to basically, if you're looking at to upgrade and you don't want to contribute too much, so first lock in a deal so that you can sell your existing property, so that you have that money. Because if you have that money, you can do more down the line, down the line payments which are easier. So you typically should look at, according to me, 30% of the value to be put upfront. So that you can get a good value, because typically under construction already, within 6 months you end up paying 30% with stamp duty, registration, and 70% can be EMIs. See, today as the repo rates have also basically come down, we are seeing for the first time the home loans rates have come down to 7.5. Recently, I took a loan which costed me 7.45.
Right.
So the range could be anywhere between 7.4 to about 8.5, which is a very attractive rate. So if you are able to take loan and also invest some of the money in other aspects which you can, then the second home buyer, it makes a lot of sense for him to upgrade. And obviously the location becomes more important. But what we are seeing is that because of the metro connectivity and little better road infrastructure which Bombay has developed, a lot of people are also upgrading to a different location. In Bombay or in, we see in larger city phenomenons that if I've been living in, say, Andheri West for over 23 years. In Bombay also, if you ask me to go and stay somewhere else, very difficult.
Right.
But aspirationally, I would want to live in Juhu or Mahim or a Worli area where the developments are happening. Then I would basically see that within the same value, if I'm getting a bigger house in Andheri. So yes, if I'm getting a bigger house in somewhere else, I basically tend to move. So from that perspective, I think the finances becomes very important. Loan and own contribution, which we call upfront payment, is very important for you to look at. And your earnings are really important for the banks to lend you money.
So do you think, the buyers now are stretching, like you said, people are wanting to, maybe they need a 2 BHK, but they're wanting to move to a 3 BHK. Do you think this emotional change that people have experienced after COVID, and are they stretching their, limits because of that?
I think so, because see, the moment it is from emotional to necessity, what happens is that it governs by how much you earn ultimately. How much are you don't plan a house. You can plan a lavish holiday. You can plan an extraordinary car for yourself.
Right.
A home, when you're trying to upgrade, it is going to add up more crores to you. And once you do that, there has to be clear, visibility of that. But I think people are stressing because, the rates are also increasing. One of the factors is that rates and supply. See, we are seeing a phenomenal amount of uptake of supply. In fact, there is a saying, and the data also suggests very clearly that Bombay, once the residential building is completed, it's very difficult to buy within that building. Right. The secondary market is only shrinking. So that means the new supply is getting absorbed at a very high level. And given that, people are worried about the price being increased, and obviously they would want to see whether they can upgrade in a particular limit. So 2 to 3, typically when we see every room is ideally costing 70 to 1 crore in a normal location, not in a premium building, not with a premium developer, but typically that is the patch. So when you add up 1 crore, you typically adding 1 more lakh to your EMI. Right. Or your salaries have basically grown. Average salary growth is anywhere between 6 and 10% according to us in Bombay. And larger thing, obviously, in some cases it can grow more. But the financial stretch people are doing because of the supply not being available, or they will not get the dream place or the house, and the price is also going up in terms of acquisition of that particular property.
When it comes to spotting the next booming, neighborhood, we've seen examples like Chembur and Goregaon surprising us with the kind of market appreciation that we have seen over the years there. What early signs should a buyer look for when scouting for emerging markets? And can you give a few examples of, micro markets that have jumped unexpectedly?
When I actually look at, investor being a first home buyer, I personally think that the first home buyer is not an investor. Okay. He is buying a home because of his necessity or a need or an emotion, and he wants to ensure that he has a home in a complex in mega cities like Mumbai, where everything is stacked up and the time taken to reach to a place is important. I think the basic thumb rule of a first home buyer is to access. Okay, once you have the access of the home, the office, schools, which is the primary factor of anybody buying a first home, is then basically look at as to what is his budget. And for them, I think what is important is that they should know which project is selling more. What are the price movements? Various listing websites are there, Square Yards being one of them. You can go to the website and actually see, what are the trends in terms of people buying in location, what are the price movements in XYZ. And that could be the first level of a first home buyer wearing a investor hat. The second aspect is what you have to look at is that is the project getting completed within a specific time. When it is quite densely populated, a particular location is densely populated, you also see how much construction activity is going. Right. Typically what happens is what we have seen, and this I'm again saying as an investor, that if there is too much of supply or there is no supply, the price don't tend to increase, right? So the same happened in Thane, for example, for a long time, where when the Thane was coming up, there was developments everywhere. So there is a lot of supply, but there was no supply in Bombay. So why people moved to Thane is largely to see, Bombay there was no supply at a given point in time to buy under construction properties. And the road infrastructure and the things were great. So we know that eastern part of the Bombay, which is the Powai area, Ghatkopar, all that patches were any which was densely populated, and Thane came about. So it takes you about 30 to 40 minutes with a good road to reach anywhere. And that's how this grew. And actually Thane grew much faster than the Ghatkopar, Chembur, Powai belt, Mulund kind of belt. It grew much faster. Now, if you look at the patch of Bhayandar Mira Road, there the prices about 5-6 years back, I remember we were marketing projects which were at 6,000, 7,000 level. There is nothing available below 12,000 to 15,000 today. Different project put together. So I think for a smart investor, it is important that he looks at the infrastructure, access to the project, nearby amenities and other things, and look at what kind of developments are happening. More developments are happening, and it's very easy with you can actually again, many listing sites only tell you the supply. They don't talk about absorption much. So I think Square Yard is uniquely poised to actually, if you go to their analytics and see the last 1 year or 2 year, now I think it is available to anybody who wants to buy a home. It doesn't have to pay a penny to actually look at that interesting analytics to say as to how much homes are sold in Bombay in last 3 months, 6 months and 1 year. And then you can drill down to localities to actually see how much volume is moving where. So typically, I think the smarter ways to help yourself with data, to see as to how many units are sold in a project, and then go and visit it. And typically, everybody window shops. It is impossible that you only want a developer or you only want a location. The person wanting to put 2 to 3 crores or say sub 1 crore also, he will also go and see 4 or 5 projects before he finishes. And that is where it is important that you look at the ground infrastructure and then also look at the data on squareyards.com or anywhere where you get to support your argument of being an investor.
Pricing, they say, is everything, but buyers these days, they hear terms like market rate and circle rate and carpet area, and they feel unsure about their investment. So how should someone research about the right price, and what are the market benchmarks to play to avoid any overpayment?
So pricing is one of the real good factors one of the main factors for any decision making to happen. But yeah, there is a lot of complexity, as you rightly said. In last over 2 to 3 decades, experts also were talking very, very different language. Somebody spoke about carpet area, somebody said saleable area, somebody says built up area, somebody said super built up area. And obviously after RERA coming, people talk about RERA carpet area. So you are absolutely right. With all these jargons which any user will hear, he will bound to get confused. Because कहीं पे आपको pricing per square feet कम लगती है, कहीं पे ज़्यादा लगती है, और because of that there is a lot of confusion. And I think after RERA came in 2017-18, if I'm not wrong, they standardized in every state, whichever states adopted it, to say that you will sell only everything on RERA carpet area. And RERA carpet area should be the right denominator for you to basically see. RERA carpet area is also captured in your agreements. So, a lot of people when they sign, because home buyers, when they know, okay, my price is say 2 crores 10 lakhs. So they are concerned about 2 crore 10 lakhs, and documents they basically don't end up seeing, which is very important. So they actually have to see. And the new trend everywhere in India is a box price. The box price is an all-inclusive price. Very less people now talk about per square feet price. And that is where the catch is, according to me. I think it is very important that you don't look at only the box price, which is an all-inclusive price, but you also look at the market price. Market price is nothing but the total value which you pay divided by the RERA carpet area. You should insist, because it's a regulatory way to look at where the state governments and the central government has actually put everything. So why the industry should not adapt to RERA carpet? There are many developers who are adopting, but there are many also who are not adopting. And that is where the confusion is. And sometimes when I calculate, when I as an expert over 20-25 years, look at a price, I first look at what is the RERA carpet area you sold me, what is the all-inclusive price. Now, all-inclusive price also have couple of components which you need to remove. So, how much stamp duty you paid, how much GST are you paying, there could be some legal fees and XYZ, small amount. But there could be larger amounts like infrastructure charges or club charges. All this you need to remove, actually, because they should not contribute more than, GST is about 5% now, all over, because it's a central subject. The stamp duty can vary from 5% to 8% depending on state to state. So if you say, okay, an average 7% and 5% is about 12% moved, and I think about 1%, 2% more. So about because of the infrastructure, legal, technical, 1-2% आप हटा दें. So typically आपके overall box price से 14% अगर आप हटा दें, 14 to 15%. So that is what your base price is. Now, interestingly, every developer in his project, when he's giving you the documentation or the cost price, he actually gives you the base price.
Right.
Now, the base price is the right price denominator for you to see, because you might go into a township and they might ask you infrastructure and club charges to be 40 lakhs, 45 lakhs, which is say very, very huge for a 3 crore or a 4 crore buy. So you need to question and maybe add that to your base price, because that is the right way to look at per square feet price. But having said that, assumingly that 14-15% is the only additional cost to your base price, your base price is the market denominator. So base value, and then you divide it by the RERA carpet area, and all our bank valuations, the data which we basically get in all the listing sites talk about per square feet price. Now that per square feet should match with the market. So for example, 40 to 42,000 rupees per square feet is the price in Andheri West in DN Nagar, JP Nagar, where I live, right? Now, when I look at a pricing which basically shows me 50,000 per square feet price, I know there is something wrong or some premium or some other factors which might say. So, one of the factors was, say, a developer was Runwal and there was a developer Rustamji there active, right? The pricing was very different between both of them. And then you basically get into, then that is the right way to look at it, because one was pricing itself at 48,000, the other one pricing was 42,000. So what is the difference? The developers are both good according to me. They have good history. Their developments are nice. But when you closely look at, the Runwal project was on a smaller piece of land. Rustamji was a larger piece of land. They had more amenities. Rustamji project had more amenities. And it was little more main road located versus back road located. Right. Other than that, the Rustamji homes were a little more bigger than the. So it is also classification of who will live there. The gentry becomes also a premium factor, which a lot of people don't think. That is why in Bombay you will not see, in like up north you will see when projects are coming 1 BHK, 1.5 BHK, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4. In Bombay it is typically 1, 2, 3, or you will have 2 and 3, or 1 and 2, or 3 and 4. Right. You know, you will not have all the combinations. ऐसा नहीं है, because supply ज़्यादा नहीं है और gentry को वो लोग करते हैं because gentry का एक premium देते हैं Bombay में. And as I always keep on saying, now the pricing, the quantity movement, which developer is developing how much in on a quarterly basis is all available on squareyard.com. It doesn't take you 15 minutes to go on the website and actually research on your own to say what is the right pricing.
राइट आनंद, बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग आपने ये पैरेलल ड्रॉ किया कि पीपल आर पेइंग फॉर द जेंट्री, यू नो, व्हेन यू ड्रू अ पैरेलल बिटवीन द काइंड ऑफ डेवलपमेंट्स वी सी अप नॉर्थ एंड हियर. So do you think this trend of buying and paying premium for maybe, you know, amenities or gentry, has this changed post COVID, or has it always been the same?
No, it is. I think largely it has been the same. But what happens is this is very developer things like that. The consumer goes to any which ways with his demands, and as I said, he chooses a project, a location, locality, homework, school. This is how he basically look at the choice of the project. But I think the trend was brought in by the developers up north and this thing, and it totally depends on what parcel of land you have, how much development can you do, what is the kind of phases you want to do, how much money the developer has. Because see, everybody knows that if you have smaller units, it will sell faster, right? But at the same time, to sell faster, you might not be able to get the premium what is required. So, as you rightly asked, whether the gentry, so the moment the project is only 3 and 4, they will have normally a particular size. So, in Bombay, 3 BHK is minimum 1,500, 1,400, 1,500. 4 BHK is about 2,000. While a 3 BHK in Delhi might be a little more larger. It will start at 2,000. Yes. 2,500 अगर नहीं होता है तो वो फिर दिल्ली वालों के लिए कम होता है. But at the same time, यहाँ पे अगर 40,000 है, वहाँ पे price 15-20,000 है, right? So that way, a person living in, I always believe, living in Bombay for so many years, that if I would have lived in Hyderabad or Delhi or anything, I would have had bigger homes, right? So I think gentry makes a lot of sense in terms of premium and the pricing, and I think the developer has cracked it right to understand whether the supply is there for premium or not. That is why you see sometimes I believe that we are moving towards a time where the branded developers are catering to premium largely, and they are catering to the value segment, but in a little more expensive manner. So I think expensive manner in the sense the premium developers might be making a little more money in the value segment than on the premium segment.
This is quite interesting.
Yeah, because it totally depends on, because बहुत सारी चीजें वहाँ पे देनी पड़ती है, करनी पड़ती है. Margins वगैरह तो बहुत same नहीं होता. Project to project it differs. The pricing it could take. Sometimes we see, for a classic example, like Godrej can sell a particular stock in a particular project much faster than anybody else, provided the project size is 200-300 units. The moment it is opening 1,000, obviously it will take time to sell. So I think it's a combination of stuff which you need to look at. But yes, gentry becomes very important for a for a pricing for a developer also to understand. And the best way to basically regulate is the size of the project.
Many buyers, they wonder these days if it is safe to put a token amount to lock their money with the builder. What should they confirm before they do so? And how important is it to check builder's credibility, his credentials and RERA registration?
Very, very important. I think you asked the right question. And for first home buyers, I see a lot of second home buyers also do the same mistake. And why I call it a mistake is that the token, when given just on the site visit, you carry a checkbook or you just give, it's not the right way to actually give a token. Token should be given after 2-3 things are absolutely done from the developer side to you. See, from a buying perspective, what everybody does is that either they receive a call or somebody says that this is a good project, and anybody buying go and visit that property. Many investors might not be doing that, but typically you look at the brochure, you look at the location, you know a ballpark figure as to what you need to pay. All this is great before the token is basically given. But once you've made the decision to buy, token is always given once the made to decision is done. And once you've decided that you need to basically buy the property, the first thing you should basically ask is the draft of the ATS, which is the agreement of sale draft. You need to see the sanction plan of your particular unit. You need to see whether the developer is registered under RERA. Under RERA, when you see, you also have to see whether they have actually posted a title or not of the project. If there is any encumbrance or any mortgage taken, so you will know that the project is under mortgage. And if there is a mortgage, then you have to pay in the token also into an account, which is the RERA escrow account per se, right? Otherwise, if the project is also not taken, it is compulsory under RERA for the developers to collect all the monies in the RERA account. So a lot of people do not know that the token has to be paid in that. That is a very, very important aspect. Fourth aspect is that you need to understand what is the overall cost composition, right? When you say, sometimes I've seen that people say, okay, this is going to cost me 1.25. And then the developer will say, when he sends the actual cost, now you've given a token. Please understand whether it is 1 lakh or 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 10 lakhs, you've given a token. Now he sends a price where you say, there is a mismatch. All your mails are saying this. Then he will say, okay, this price was niche kahin likha hoga ki exclusive of other charges. So this exclusive other charges could be stamp duty, registration, infrastructure, club charges, many other charges. People charge for parking also, which is where the problem starts, And I'm telling you, it is not 5-10 issues. According to me, token giving and then the both parties not agreeing could be running into hundreds in every city. And that is where the problem, and then the redressal mechanism is very not easy that way, which we'll obviously talk about in a much larger discussion. You are creating your own problem by giving a token by not asking these things. So these are sort of non-negotiable. Until unless the developer doesn't give you these, which I talked about, you should not, it's a red flag, you should not move forward. And don't fall prey, hurrying when people say, first you put the token.
Units are getting sold out.
And you put the token and then I'll give you the information. These are absolute red flags. It could be anybody. I think the consumer rights needs to go forefront, right? So you should always ensure that the way how you take a token or money or advances or anything is as per the not the market practice. The market practice is very different, according to me. A lot of people say, sir, यही market practice है. आप पहले टोकन रखिए, फिर हम आपको ये सब चीजें भेजेंगे. ऐसा नहीं है. जो मैं खरीद रहा हूँ और करोड़ों की चीज खरीद रहा हूँ, लाखों की चीज मेरी, I'm putting my life savings in some cases, you're taking loans and XYZ. One more very interesting aspect which I look at, people put token in projects which are not having project finance approved. So what happens is you can get RERA. I've seen it in some of the cases, and that's why I'm saying this. One of the other factors is कि आपके पास RERA आ गया, आपके पास सारा declaration है, but उस project में कोई finance approved नहीं है. So you should not look at basically buying, even if you are not going to take loan, you should refrain to take, because what happens is if for banking, एक bank partner आपके आता है. Two banks are necessary according to me to be participated by the developer, because that tells you that the basic diligence at the land level, at the project level, at the sanction level, at the number of units level is all approved. So there is a term called APN, which has to be there, the APN number of the project, and every bank has, for every project they have a unique APN numbers, right? They call it different thing for developers, but more than that, you need to know what the project is approved, and the developer and the banker, you should connect to say have you approved or not before you put the token. So after you put the token is, I think lot of people do what, you put the token and they start getting into details after putting the token. But I think you have to get into all the details before you put the token. But because then after that, your life will be very simple, because you've known everything about the project. And once you put the token, then only work which you need to do is timely pay the amount to the developer, and developer's job is to ensure that he finishes. But a lot of people don't end up seeing that, and there are so many RERA complaints, so many other things just because of these things, because people think, अरे हमें तो पता ही नहीं था कि इतना बड़ा जमीन है, हमें तो पता ही नहीं था कि इतना छोटा एरिया है, हमें तो पता ही नहीं था कि इसमें balcony इस वाले यूनिट में नहीं है, it is not this facing, that facing. So a lot of small issue comes in. I think so people should refrain. मैं चाहूँगा कि कोई भी टोकन नहीं दे, because आपको खरीदना है, आपको मालूम है, you've committed. And for the comfort of the developer, you can give it in writing that I am interested in this property at this value, which you said. Please send me these 4-5 details. Again, reiterating, you need to see whether RERA number is there. In the RERA, there is declaration of title and mortgage is there. And then you have to look at sanction plans of the particular unit or the tower which you are in. You need to see what is the draft of the ATS. You should read the ATS draft so that it is not one-sided and it is prescribed as per RERA. And fourth is you need to see whether the project is financed by a couple of banks, credible banks, which should basically give you a confirmation of giving to.
Now we have talked about RERA, Anand, and I understand that it has helped us, to formalize the market and to set a stage for the real estate players. But not everyone knows the rights. Like you've rightly said, that people are not aware about, the kind of documentation they have to check and the kind of rights they have under RERA. What protections does RERA actually offer to their buyers, and especially around delays and refunds and issues like transparency, and how should somebody raise a complaint if they need to?
So I think RERA regulation coming in, I think it cut 50% of the problems.
Okay.
But 50% problems are still there. What is important to understand is, what is the regulator? Why is the RERA formed? So RERA is a state subject. Real estate is also a state subject. And the regulator was brought in because a lot of complaints were going in consumer complaints. And consumer complaints can take forever. वहाँ पे अगर आपको केचप में कुछ इशू हो गया तो वो भी जाता है उसको, तो है ना, इसमें इतने सारे लोग आ जाते हैं कि वो रियल एस्टेट एज अ वैल्यू उसको है ना सेपरेट करना था. एंड आई थिंक दैट इज व्हाट द सेंटर वांटेड टू डू, एंड इट्स प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्मेट, स्पेसिफिक फॉर्मेट्स टू ऑल द स्टेट्स टू अडैप्ट. As we speak, most of the states have adopted, where the urbanization is there, where urban selling is happening, most of the states have adopted. And a consumer should know where. See, you cannot go and read the act. It is not necessary कि मैं आपको बोलूँ कि अरे आप रेरा का भी पूरा एक्ट पढ़ो आपके सिटी का. But largely RERA 4 से 5 चीज़ें प्रिस्क्राइब करता है. First is कि the developer has to declare everything on the RERA website.
Okay.
When I say declare everything, who is he, what projects he has done, the land area, how much is sanctioned, how many towers are there, how many units are there.
Does it also include his financial health?
No, not really. It doesn't say anything about that. I think that an individual has to do its own. But कितने towers हैं, उस project के बारे में largely. कितने projects किए हैं वो बता, it basically says, but it doesn't say उसका फाइनेंशियल हेल्थ क्या है, प्रोजेक्ट्स क्या हैं, कितने यूनिट्स हैं, हाउ मच आर बेसिकली सोल्ड, what is the construction status of those projects.
And that has to be updated time.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be prescribed formats, or in states that quarterly it has to be updated. A lot of people do not do. Obviously, RERA is taking stringent action. Typically, I've seen them taking stringent action in North and also in Bombay in some of the projects. Sorry, just to complete, saying that it also tells you how many litigations you have. RERA complaints भी कितना है वो सब भी बताता है आपको. तो अगर आप किसी RERA में जा रहे हैं किसी पर्टिकुलर वेबसाइट में रेरा का वेबसाइट आप इजीली महारेरा जा सकते हैं तेलंगाना रेरा जा सकते हैं जस्ट पुट द स्टेट नेम एंड जस्ट से रेरा इट विल ओपन अप एंड यू कैन पुट द प्रोजेक्ट नेम और द डेवलपर नेम और द लोकेलिटी डिपेंडिंग ऑन व्हाट काइंड ऑफ सर्च easily you will basically come to know and there are all these declarations there and then you know if there are too many RERA complaints just click and open it. Interestingly, all the RERA complaints and the orders received are also sometimes posted there. So you can click and see what was the issue and you are not at least facing that issue or you can ask the developer upfront. So all this is already there. So RERA is very clear that you need to declare everything since you are selling. It cannot be before the sanctions. So जो मैं बता रहा था ना 50% प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो गया 50% कॉमन प्रॉब्लम ऑफ द डेवलपर्स डेवलपर्स वर टेकिंग मनी देयर वाज नो सैंक्शन प्लान्स इन हैंड एंड दैट वाज द बिगेस्ट इशू and they were not taking money in the same account. Now RERA is regulated that it has to come into it was also said 75% of whatever you collect will go into project completion. Your expenses might be 60%. But 75% has to be collected in RERA account. And then on an ongoing basis, you can take money. The 25% you can take money out. So those major issues are already solved with formation of RERA and the overall act for the developer and XYZ. Then the major issue is the timely delivery of the project. And that is where every developer has to actually declare when will he complete it. There was an exception given because of COVID or some extraordinary situations that might happen where the developer is authorized to go to the RERA and ask for extension. It could be 6 months, it could be 1 year. I have not seen extension given more than 1 year and he has to follow that. Otherwise penalties are there. In fact, it is a standard clause in the agreements which everybody should see that if there is delay more than 6 months of the RERA timeline cannot be crossed. But developer also sometimes put their own timelines, which are before RERA, and take 6 month extension, which is fair to give. But post RERA timelines, every owner has the right to ask for compensation. So a lot of people say, "क्या फायदा है developer नहीं देगा, time लगेगा XYZ." But simple application to the RERA or through a law firm or through anybody practicing that should be the way. So timeline is what they basically govern. The third aspect is the overall the amenities, the area where they've sold, which floor you've sold, which unit you've sold. RERA also protects that. So sometimes we see here the double selling of a unit or a unit which doesn't have a balcony, which is actually when you bought it was under construction. Right. But it doesn't have, or say, let's not say balcony, ऐसा तो नहीं होता कि balcony नहीं मिलेगी, but it might be niche areas which have been shown to you which are not there, or could be layout issue where you would have seen kitchen is there or not there. A lot of cases also comes like that. Sometimes it could be amenities that he said there will be a playground, there will be children play area, there will be terrace garden, and those are not there. So those are also included in RERA as a consumer protection angle. Your payments, the amounts of money which you have to pay per slab, based on slab, if you're not giving, so the RERA also penalizes the customer. If you don't pay on time, the developer is any which way is allowed नहीं तो possession तो देगा नहीं. It's easier for the developers to collect from the consumer rather than consumer questioning as to why should I be paying. So the amount of money you paid, XYZ, we have seen cases where the developer has unanimously gone and increased the price, saying that now since my cost have increased or some issues have happened. So a lot of people have gone to RERA to say my price was this much and I'm going to pay. And the developer doesn't give possession. So RERA court has given this thing. So that is also a right under which you're protected. One thing which many people do not know and which I would want to highlight being part of the industry and putting customer first is that you might have booked a house and which have costed you 2 crores and you've put already say 1.5 crores and for some reason you are not able to go forward. It could be, see, consumers, investors sometimes make reasons for them to not. But largely when you know if there is some happenings in your family or something has happened which, some other project would have failed or, you've lost money in markets or you lost money in business or there is a family dispute, you are not able to move forward. There are many genuine issues. So there is a clause under which you can actually cancel the unit by taking a 10% hit on the base price. But what happens is you only take the 10% on the base price, but जो आपने stamp duty GST pay किया वो भी नहीं मिलेगा. So I would say 10 and 12%, about 22% of the total hit, because typically stamp duty would have paid as soon as you paid 10%, which is all gone, 6 to 7%. The GST you would have paid as per the demand. So आपने 2 करोड़ का पूरा GST नहीं पे किया होगा, but 1 करोड़ जो भी आपने दिया उसका GST पे किया होगा, वो भी आपका लॉस है, राइट? इन दोनों के अलावा जो आपका पूरे प्राइस में जो भी आपने दिया है उसका 10% रिड्यूस करके द डेवलपर विल हैव टू गिव द मनी बैक. It might take some time, but it is a right for you to cancel. So that is how the consumer is protected. A lot of people do not know about this, and people don't exercise, and they enter into defaults and defaults and defaults. And obviously the developer has the right. A developer, if doesn't know that you want to cancel it, he will keep putting interest on you, and that interest might tend amount to more. So the faster you know that you're not going in the project, it is better to cut losses. According to me, is it a wise decision? Totally depends how much money you basically put and what is your exact situation. But if I'm in a special situation, I would like to lose some money and get. Obviously, the developers are not easy to deal with. Generally, largely, everybody knows about that, and you might need a specialist to help you to recover that money. Very few developers on a request they'll give you the whole money. Some developers I know they'd say, okay, we understand this could be a problem, and we'll take about 3 to 6 months to sell this off, because any which way sales are happening. The benefit on the developer side is that he would have sold it at a lesser price, and the project. The only problem happens when the project is not selling or the price have come down. There are projects which are sold at say 10,000 rupees per square feet and now selling at 8,900 or 9,000 because of the supply not getting absorbed. So if you are caught in those situations, it will be difficult. Otherwise, the developers can easily give you that 10% because they keep that 10% and they get a fresh booking. So in those situations where not, you can knock the door of RERA. So RERA you should see from a protection angle. As far as the complaint process is concerned, it is not that easy that you go and raise a complaint because there is a proper court hearing happening. You need to know as to what needs to be filed, how it needs to be filed. You need a decent lawyer to argue your case. We have seen, I've been in multiple forums in media to actually address that on the complaint side as to what's happening. So the average time of filing, it could be 1 month. In 1 month, you can file your, prepare documents, hire a decent lawyer and do those. The time taken for redressal mechanism could be anywhere between 6 months to 1 year because of the number of cases and the less number of judges which are available to hear. Now, most of the things are happening on online, so there is a little more fast track. And then for the money to be received, there is another 3 to 6 months from the developer. So typical cycle is 18 to 24 months if you are lucky, honestly. Right? If you're not, then it could take more time. So if you think that you can manage the money within a year's time, I would still say that go and negotiate with the developers, say that there is a problem, accept some extra money and get going with it. Because the redressal mechanism is not that fast, so to say. But yeah, you know that you're not going ahead with it and you want your money back and you have some time. I have complained in one of the cases. I actually won both the cases. One took me almost 2.5 years. The second took me almost 4 years. 4.5 years. Because the COVID was also there. A year I lost.
Anand, compact homes are seeing most of the absorption today in the market. And we've seen more and more people trying to buy in the sub 500 square feet category. So I want to ask you a question that are smaller homes really cheaper?
No, actually, I will not give a very long answer to this. The cheaper homes are at premium, let me say, right? When you say cheaper means they are in value cheaper. But the fact is there are also more takers for the smaller homes. The smaller homes are at premium because of the fact that there is a lot of demand for a ticket size. And that ticket size, as I said, from a volume perspective, when I look at national data, Bombay being an exception, obviously, but Bombay also shows about 80-85% of homes being below 1.5 crores. If you see national numbers, I think below 1 crores contributes almost 95% of homes are sold below 1 crores. If you pick up all the top 10, all the 12 to 13 markets where urbanization is great. So I think it is not a supply mismatch at present, but I think the smaller homes mean smaller ticket size, and they have a premium because the demand is quite high. I'll give you a very small example where in Thane or say Mulund, which is very closer to this thing. Now I think it is not less than 30,000. Anywhere between 28 and 35,000 is the ongoing price. And Thane also is almost 25 plus, 22, 25 plus. So if you are having smaller homes in because of the pricing, if you build 100 200 square feet less, if you are able to travel and you have a car and two people are earning in the home, they will prefer in Thane because it's hardly any distance. But in Mulund, if you build small homes, they go the last because again the people who want to really buy a little larger home, the price is almost the same. So having said that, this you have to look at smaller homes in micro markets and see how they are behaving. But the fact is that the developers make more money in smaller homes because the per square feet price which you actually achieve is going to be higher. Unless you go to markets like Gurgaon, where the integrated township, or Bangalore for example, there are larger lands, 10 acre का project होगा, उसमें 1 BHK भी बन रहा होगा, 2 में भी, 3 में भी बन रहा है, उसमें smaller, you don't see in these cities 400 500s coming in. I think the minimum area which I think is 700. We've not seen 500 600. 700 से चालू होता है and it goes up to the value homes goes up to 800. So 600 to 800 is the patch which is now started. Bombay is obviously it's selling 350 also because affordable homes में 350 square feet भी बिकता है. And given that, you always need to, you have to go back to my conversation with you to say how you should look at the pricing. So if it is a larger development, obviously they are not expensive. The smaller houses are not expensive. They will be priced almost at the price at the 2 BHK, 3 BHK. But in Bombay, in cities which are a little more congested or areas which are more congested, the smaller homes will always get a premium.
And what about negotiating? When and how should somebody approach negotiation to get the best deal? And should they be buying from a broker or from the developer himself?
So before token, obviously, right? You don't negotiate after the token or giving 10,000 1 lakh. I mean that's and I think what happens is that developer to developer it definitely matters. Location and what time are you buying? Are you buying at the very early stage or mid stage or later or after OC? All these are also factors of negotiations. But the best negotiator is somebody who has understood the market very good. And when I say market, means micro market. The specific locality, and he knows what trades are happening either through going through listing sites or seeing actual transactions on squareyard.com or looking at the local brokers typically actually also gives you a fair amount of idea. Or friends and families are always there. So a research is always important. I always think that the best negotiator negotiates on the base price and not on overall. Because overall is a factor of, there is a cost related to, and the stamp duty is applicable on the base cost. The GST is also applicable on the base cost. The other legal infrastructure and other things are based on what unit size you're buying. So 1 BHK will have a lesser value, 2 BHK will have a more value XYZ because the maintenance are also like that, right? If you have a 1 BHK, आपका कम maintenance होगा. So base price. Why I'm trying to say all this is to focus you on the negotiation aspect. So ultimately the focus is on the RERA carpet area as to what price you're paying for that and what is the per square feet price. And once you know that a particular price is basically told to you, you need to look at the locality average. So the negotiation should start after knowing the average price. That is your first denominator. You should look at the developer, the premium it can fetch X, Y, Z. And typically, what we have seen is that you can negotiate anywhere. You can start negotiating anywhere 10%. So I think the if the price is say 28,000, you know that the 10% negotiation is possible. Below that, below more than that, it's very difficult, according to me. Unless you're paying so much premium in premium projects where the average price is say 30,000 and you've been asked for 45,000, then negotiations can happen, right? Premium always can be negotiated, and then obviously you need to know how much product is sold. And the right way to validate what is sold is not by what developer is saying, is to go to our website. I mean, you can come to again squareyard.com to see how much the project is sold in last 3 months, 6 months, in 1 year. What is the price movement? What is the average price? Because we only look at RERA carpet area or what is actually captured in the base value. We don't compare all inclusive price in our website because what data we have accumulated over the time is sub-registrar data. And sub-registrar data is unconflicted data of two people's transaction which is paid by stamp duty. Of course, some prices will be low, some prices will because you might pay a token today and you might go out for registration next year, right? So you might not be able to know as to you might see array the 20th floor is at 25,000 and the second floor is at 32,000. But you need to look at the wing, you need to look at the size, you need to look at many other things. It might be a garden facing for you, that might be a premium. So negotiations should basically start 10% below and has a various factors. And that is where it is important that the individual is not able to actually conquer on any price because he's an individual. And the developers knows immediately that you have done your study and you're coming. First home buyers don't do so much homework. The people who have bought 2 3 homes or an investors know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is why a channel partner is always required for the first home buyer, because the channel partner will always tell you, give you comparables, give all those heavy liftings he will do for the price to be right.
So, all right. Suppose that I'm a buyer and I've booked a home. Now, what are the key documents that I should be, looking at to ensure, this that I'm completely proof of any of the fraud that happens in, real estate market these days? What paperwork protects me and my purchase legally?
Yeah, so I think once you pay the token, typically, as I said, that the first is a draft of the ATS. Ultimately, you need to sign it also. So that becomes one of the prime factors because आजकल क्या होता है कि जो एग्रीमेंट ऑफ सेल है ATS जिसको बोलते हैं उसमें typically all the title recitals are there. How did the developer got the project? What is the sanction he got? What is the unit? What are the other terms and conditions? When we will complete? What are the RERA timelines? Everything is basically, so that is your core document per se. But sometimes what happens is the pricing sheet is different. The attachments typically. What should be attached also is important to look at with the ATS. So sanction plan is very important to be attached. Your layout has to be very important, and which has to be properly stamped and other things. And sanction plan and a page on which your layout is there. You should check the proper layout, the unit number, XYZ, where it is located. If your unit is in a particular tower, so you should have a tower layout also, which we call a project layout. सो टिपिकली आपके यूनिट अलग नहीं होता आपका, आपके पहले अगर प्रोजेक्ट लेआउट है, अगर 4 टावर्स हैं, सो यू शुड हैव ABC टावर फर्स्ट ऑन द लेआउट शुड बी देयर, एंड इनसाइड दैट देयर हैज टू बी अ लेआउट ऑफ द फ्लोर, and then you should have the floor plan is also, and then within the floor plan your unit, if it is visible, great, you can basically, the developer will mark it, and then you should have your own unit floor plan also. So typically 3 layout plan. Lot of people don't practice it. I do not know why. It is the basic thing which should be attached with the ATS. You should have the overall project layout, you should have the floor layout, and you should have the unit layout. All these 3 should be part of this thing. At least आपके पास होना चाहिए developer से, and you should insist in actually attaching that with the ATS. A lot of people will say this is our standard, but I think what is right, right? Then you should have the final pricing with all inclusive price. You should, a lot of developers do not write the stamp duty registration XYZ in the normal ATS. So you should ask them a mail or a letter or something which you can have. Then you should have a parking allotment letter. So parking allotment letter, the practice is once it is built, then they actually give you. So you should have at least a letter of allotment of the car park. Car park allotment letter bolte hain usko. At least you know, okay, there's a car park letter on the letterhead of the developer which has been signed, which should be basically given to you. Then, one of the prime things which a lot of people miss is that any payment which you do, for that the developer also need to give you receipts. You will be surprised that many banks, when they are asking for this thing, they don't go by the bank statement. They want receipt from the developer that the developer has received this money. Okay. So if you're not even, so tomorrow also when you want to sell this off or something, they will ask you the payment, because agreement of sale is a contract between two parties to say that I'm going to buy this at this price. It doesn't mean that you paid all that money. Whatever is paid before the ATS, you should have the copies of invoices. You should also have the copies of, because invoice will have the breakup of the base price, and if he is collecting for stamp duty, if it is collecting for a particular amenity. A lot of developer charge a percentage of the amenity cost on an equated basis. So you should know typically that what are you paying and what is the composition of that. You know, okay, 7.5 lakhs I need to pay on this month. So I need to know what is the breakup of the 7.5 lakh. It might be possible that it is only base price, but it could be other factors also. Right. So that also is required for you to have. The legal title opinion is already available, but I believe that it is important that you do your own title diligence of that particular unit. Okay. You can go to any website, including squareyard.com. A listing website give you those verifications. The charges will be anywhere between 500 and 1,000 rupees. I think a basic preliminary title check on your particular unit is always required, because if there is any charge created on your unit by any other third party developer, or if this is registered earlier, or anything can come to light. And one more thing is very important, that if you go under some kind of litigation at some given point of time where the unit of double selling XYZ, which is very low percentage today, so you can actually give a government registered title report of an authority which has license to issue these reports, can be admissible in court per se. Right. So it is very important that you do at least the title check, because some of them at this point in time, when you're paying token, the bank has not approved your loan. And a lot of problem happens where the bank has not approved. So I typically, what I do is I apply for a bank loan. The bank does all the checks. It gives me principal approval. That is where, if there is any issues with the developer, so before token, I would say you do the bank. If you're taking a bank loan, if you don't want to go through this whole process of kya mere ko chahiye, kya nahi chahiye, the bank will do those. But having said that, the receipts, the bank will not insist. The plans, the bank will not insist. So there are a few things which you have to take care, which are well covered in the discussion which we're having.
All right, so before we wrap, just a quick rapid fire for Mumbai, but no thinking, only your gut feeling.
Sure.
Buy or rent in Mumbai today?
Buy.
Okay. Western suburbs or eastern? Where's the action?
Eastern.
Underrated micro market buyers should be paying more attention to?
Mira Road, Bahender, Mulund, Borivali.
Okay. Real estate myth you hear way too often?
Prices will never come down.
Okay. If I gave you 2 crore right now, where in Mumbai will you put it?
Tricky question, cannot be one line, but I've already answered you what is the locations which I basically look at. But from an average price perspective, I think I'll be more interested in as an investor. If the question is where I want to put money, then I'm going to be putting in the MMR extension region. So Navi Mumbai, Thane, that kind of region.
So suppose I'm looking for a flat, I have not booked anything as of now, and I go for site visits. What is the biggest red flag, no matter how good the brochure looks?
Interesting. I think one should look at, see, typically when you go to a site, you will be yourself seeing how much the area is developing. You will see many projects, or you will have one project, or your own project developing. Both are red flags. Red flags in the sense you have to be cautious to see. There's no one-line answer, but I think either it is an oversupplied market or it is very undersupplied. And when you go to a particular project, then you have to see whether the project is mobilized. Is there enough people? And they will have sales office outside or inside. Many of the sales offices in Bombay are keeping separate and not at the site. But a site visit is compulsory for you to know, and it is very easy for you to know whether the project is mobilized, because if it is in a mobilized state, you know that things are good, and you should never book or pay token monies before you actually visit the site, if specifically you are owning it. Or if you are working through a channel partner, obviously he can send you pictures of that, right? Live pictures are very important. Just picture sending is not important. Live pictures, a channel partner can go and visit the site and show you a live picture of what's happening. So more activity, the red flags could be less.
That's it for today's episode of House of Yards, where we make real estate real easy. If you think this episode helped you, hit a like, leave a comment, and share it with somebody who's making real estate moves. See you in the next one.